Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Haunted Vermont podcast. My name is Paul Doski, and with us is a very special guest that I would find across the lake. This is what I'm going to say. I know normally if the person is overseas, we say over the pond, but in this case, it's over the lake. I guess
Yeah.
we could say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And, ladies and gentlemen, this is local New York author and painter and everything else creative is Pam Putnam. Pam, welcome aboard.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Pam. So I know your daughter reached out to me to talk to me about like your book there, Champ, the little Plesiosaur and stuff like that. So before we really get into it, for people that are maybe curious, is uh, why not tell us a little brief bio of who you are and what kind of got you into the creative art side?
So I grew up with a great grandmother who worked at Fort Ticonderoga, and she brought home a lot of broken toys, which kind of led me into the upcycling part of my art. And then along with that, she taught me to sew. And I think from there, I always like to draw in color, and I was encouraged, and I've kind of bloomed into a primitive upcycling artist and really enjoy watercolor. And this season, I've made a lot of Easter and spring fabric bunny art. And, I'm pretty much all over the place. I like to try everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I saw a little bit of your bunny art. Was that the stuff that you were like sewing together as well? Like,
Yes, yes.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
You only made, if I remember right, for years, some of your posts, you only made so many of them, and then they were like almost going out of stock as soon as you know.
Yes, yes. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. A good problem.
that is a good problem, because then that just means you just need to either a make more, but then again, it's not Easter anymore, so or
Great.
something
Yeah.
like that. I forget when Easter is or was. What? It's just one of those type of weeks, I guess. But let's see. So you mentioned like as we were talking too, with like the stories of. I'm assuming it's basically what inspired you to do the Champ little plesiosaur
Right.
anyway. Is So what are some of the stories I guess that that you heard of Champ anyway? I think we're talking about Champ.
Yeah. So when I was young, I grew up living in Port Henry, and we swam basically in Bulwaga Bay. That's where the bulk of the sightings are. And in the 70s and early 80s, there were a lot of sightings. Enough so that they kind of struck fear in our hearts, some of us. The lake is murky up our way. And to jump in and not have any clarity, your imagination can go crazy for you. So when we would hear these stories, they would just be just so, out there, scary that, they were just like cemented in your mind. So those are the stories that I started to draw upon to create the book. And then, what I had to do is figure out how I could lay out the whole storyline. And then I thought maybe I could start off with, how on earth did he get here to begin with? And kind of make it a historical timeline. So I think you read the book, you can see, how I started the book off slow and then kind of sped it up as it went to the future and really tried to show his perspective, what it was like for him to see us. So instead of making the story scary, I made him more of a curious creature.
Oh yeah, I completely caught on to that. That was one
Yes.
of the things that I think I even said is like I liked how you were showing like the past to the present, and then especially I liked how through his eyes you were saying he was seeing like the big black box, which is basically the old fashioned cameras.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I liked that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I liked how you were taking photography and then you were putting into the watercolor or yeah watercolor
Yeah. Yeah.
into the photos itself.
Right. Living around the lake, photography is a favorite of mine. I had photos, and I went for some hikes looking for, especially in the bay, for some very specific angles that I could take. The one picture of the gal that was snorkeling. I clearly remember that story. I was told that story firsthand, and it was frightening. But I didn't want to make it that way in the book.
Right,
I
right.
wanted it to be like, "Oops, he bumped her."
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Uh, Out of all the stories that you've heard, what is like your favorite one anyway?
Um, Probably that story because I don't know if I was like maybe 14 years old and seeing this woman, the her eyes and her hands and her body language just expressing the thrill, the fear, all of it, that she experienced at her camp on the lake. And it had been, I believe it was either that morning or the night before. I honestly don't remember, but I can remember the family I was with at their house. There was 4 kids and myself, and we were just mouth agape, listening to her talk about this big black thing that slithered across her whole body. And it just was terrifying. Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I like these like old tales where like it's like something like the parents are trying to make up for like the kid to go to sleep or something because if they don't go to sleep, this monster will come and get
Yep,
you. You know,
yep, yep.
so did you ever feel like any of these stories were kind of fabricated to like I don't know, in this case with Champ, like to kind of stay out of the water or something or a specific part of the
No,
water? No.
no, they were more experiences of people enjoying the water. Like that gal loved to snorkel in the lake. The other story that's in the bay is there was a couple of fishermen who were out trolling in their boat. And down in the bay in that area, there's a natural, like a point. At one time, they tried to build a railroad across it to the other side of the lake. So it's like a sandbar, and the lake must have been pretty low when the guys were out there, because what they said was that they were fishing and all of a sudden this large snake-like serpent came out of the water and went up over what I'll call the trestle. um, and they were just mortified. So those stories just stick with you. And they told it out of excitement that they saw him, not in the sense of kids don't go swimming there. That's not a safe thing to do. No,
Right.
nobody ever thought of that.
So in a way, it's more of like you want to. You're trying to make it curious for the reader. Like, could this, like, what are these tales? Like, are they fabricated? Are they real? Even though, like, there is eyewitnesses, and I'm not trying to like. I'm trying to be careful because I'm sort of part skeptic when it comes to the cryptid era. But
Yeah,
when it comes to the paranormal, it's like, oh yeah, oh yeah,
yeah,
I believe that there is a paranormal. Cryptid
yeah,
though, it's another story to
yeah,
me. Like I need to see a little bit more, you
yeah.
know. But it's all like what you said. Not to cut you off real quick, but
Mhm.
it's always fun to hear other people's stories and
Yep.
the eyewitnesses, and
Yep.
then it really makes you want to believe. Like, oh, like what did they really see?
And I think the thing that I learned since I wrote the book from people reaching out to me and interacting with me, there's a heck of a lot more people that saw something and really didn't want to say it because they didn't want to be talked about in town. So I would say there's a lot more people that had some type of sighting and couldn't really put a frame of reference onto exactly what they saw, but it was something. And some of these folks are avid fishermen. I mean, they don't make it up, you know. It's not like, you could say you mistook Champ for, a big salmon or something in the lake. It doesn't work that way.
No, and yeah, that's a good point. Like, people, even eyewitnesses that even come out, they get their reputation hurt because of the. I just had the word in my brain and now it's gone again. fallback. I know there's another word, but now, oh man, it's always it's always fascinating. But in this case, though, like in your point of view, have you seen anything that's like? Have you like seen anything yourself, or have
No,
you? No.
no. And I was out on the lake a lot when I was younger, but we'd always hope to see something, but no. So very disappointing. That doesn't mean
Well,
that I won't someday, but
no. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, since it is a plesiosaur, have we really learned like how long a plesiosaur can stay underwater too? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I don't
Probably,
know.
probably the scientific folks know that. Yeah,
I would hope so.
yeah,
I mean, it makes me wonder though if it's about the same length of a whale, or maybe because of the length of a plesiosaurus, it could actually stay under longer than
yeah.
any
I would
other.
think it could stay under a while. You know, um, I know the length of it is disputed oftentimes, but if you can see, three pretty good humps, I think most people believe it's around 20, 25 feet, something like that.
Yeah, if not larger,
Yeah, yeah,
depending on the situation. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, speaking of like sightings and stuff, you guys have a nice trying to think how to
Like a billboard.
describe it. Yeah, like the billboard of
Mhm.
like the sighting from I want to say the '70s, and speaking of that, it's like, well, was that it? Like, was that all the sightings? Like, what happened? Because
Yeah.
it only
Well,
seems to
those
be
were
19.
those were the some of the folks that came forward in town and wanted to be on that. So there's a lot of other folks that just didn't want their names put up on the sign, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
I was
there's a lot of
curious.
jokes, oh, so and so was drinking on a Saturday night and they saw a
Oh yeah,
change. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They
But
saw a branch floating.
even family wise, after I wrote the book, my mother-in-law and father-in-law said to me, we have to tell you, we've never ever told anyone this, but we think we saw Champ when we were dating back in, that was years before. So it's kind of cool to hear all the stories.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always and that's the thing, right? Like when you find the people and you put out something where here's the word, ridicule. That's the word I
Oh
was
yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
It's like once you get that out and once they feel like it's safe to talk to you or like they feel comfortable to say something, that's when they will
Yeah.
normally say it, right?
Yes.
Because they know they're not going to get that ridicule backfire.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And even last year at Champ Day, I had a few people come up to me and say that they had seen Champ. So I actually had a sign that I was selling that I converted into just a signature board. So people who had seen Champ could sign it off, and I'll bring it again when I go this year,
oh,
just
that's
to
cool.
capture some sightings. Yeah.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of the people saying, like, of how they were seeing him? Like, was it the lumps that you were describing, or was it a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I know one gal told me about her grandmother seeing Champ, and she was actually in a boat, a small rowboat, and it lifted her up out of the water due to the
Oh,
size
wow.
of it. So that was a good
Wow.
one.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy, I want to say that he talked about seeing the neck and the head out of the water. So, all different experiences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always, it's always interesting to hear these. Like I said, like I want to believe more, like that there is such thing as cryptid, but then it's like I need more. I need more evidence. So, like, to to go to like a different type of topic for just a second is
Sure.
like I myself have seen something in the sky. Now I'm not trying to say it's a UFO or anything, and I've never really mentioned it that many times because for all I know it could have been a drone, you know.
Yeah.
And but what I found funny recently is that I was listening to another podcast, and this podcast did a call in for the viewers, and this guy called in from Connecticut and basically described the same thing that I saw years ago. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, well, maybe I saw something, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's the same way for Champ. When you have a person who's seen it in the water, and then someone who doesn't know what they saw, is pretty darn similar.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, and especially if that person that's not really sure, but this person that may have saw Champ saw this, but it almost matches the same description of that person that is skeptical, then yeah, I mean that adds more fuel to the fires, I may say.
And then supposedly within the last couple years, they've captured some echolocation type signals, and they think that could be Champ. So that's
Hmm.
kind of interesting.
Yes, and could that also be the underwater like alien base that I also hear rumored about like Champlain? I don't know if you have,
Uh, Oh no, I
but
haven't heard that.
no, really?
Oh,
Oh man. Yeah, they're saying Lake Champlain is like one of the underwater submerged object like bases where they see UFOs and stuff like come out of the water and dive into the water.
huh,
Yeah, so
I'll have to look that
huh.
up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I heard it from. Somebody else told me about it because we were talking about Champ and stuff like that, and it's just like, oh yeah, UFOs
Yeah,
go in and out of the water. They
yeah,
think there's like a base or something there. It's like
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about your book there. So Chant the Little Plesiosaur. So obviously you got the ideas and stuff from the stories that you heard, and you wanted to share them in a nice, friendly way,
Hmm.
and which is completely understandable because how else would you want to get young readers to read? You know, you're
Right.
throwing them a monster that is friendly and
Yeah.
all the kindness in the world, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, you were also talking to me about learning Procreate. So describe like how that program is, because I'm actually curious more about it. So it'd
Sure.
be nice to actually hear from somebody who has used
Okay.
it.
Well, I started with Photoshop, and Photoshop is very complex. Cody's used it for, a good 10 or 15 years more than me. And, I started learning it just to keep my mind sharp. And when I very first started working on the Champ book, I was using Photoshop. So I would upload a photo and then insert my watercolor drawing and, really try and work the pages over so that it looked like a piece of art rather than, two images just plunked on top of each other. And then I got Procreate, I got an iPad, and Procreate is just so much easier for someone to pick up and learn than Photoshop. You're not having to remember like 3 and 4 keystrokes to do an action. So once I started doing Procreate, it really sped up the process for me. So that was fun to learn.
Now, is Procreate also? I'm trying to think of the word right now. I think it's like the Sketcher or something, where you can have like a pad and you can like draw on it. Like
Yes.
you have
So
like a little drawing.
yeah, basically on Procreate, you'll have windows, a
Hmm.
window that you have open. And then, for instance, like I would first put down my photo and then I would import my watercolor. And as I got better, I just drew my watercolors. So what you have is just, tons of brushes and different strokes. Like you could paint like you're using watercolors, or you can paint that you're using oils. You can pick your brushes, you can pick your widths, you can just do a whole bunch of adjustable things very quickly and seamlessly.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So So you were when you were doing the watercolor, were you doing that like on actual paper first and then
When I
imported
first
them?
started, yes, because I was going to just import them into Photoshop. And the blending to take an image and erase the background and put it on a photo and then make it look like it's there in Photoshop took a lot of work. But once I was able to do it in Procreate, it just sped up the process so much that, like I said, I converted from doing all my images using my watercolors that I took a photo of on watercolor paper. Instead, I was just using the brushes and, drawing my own champs on the pages. and I tried to keep him pretty simplistic and not have a lot of detail on his, on his face and all. I just wanted a very simple image. So yeah, it was fun to learn. Frustrating at times, but it was fun to learn.
That's what I hear all the time. So
Yeah.
you just gotta
So
pay. You just
a lot of tattoo people, tattooists, they use the Procreate because it's so quick. They can quickly blend images and erase and, create a piece of art for, tattooing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It amazed me how far we've become with like technology for the
Yes.
art
Yeah.
world, and and I don't know how many times I hear artists now where they say they would rather draw it digitally than have to worry about putting it on the paper first and then importing it over.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm old school. I like the brush and watercolor paint. I think that hands down, that's always going to be me. And you contrast that with my daughter, she's done so much in Photoshop and Procreate. That's like second nature to her. So you hand her a brush and paints, and she's going to be a bit choppier than she used to be because she's been in the computer so much. So it's kind of a nice balance, the two of us, which hopefully we will be doing a book together within the next year. So
ooh,
that'll be fun.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool to see the two different type of art styles together.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out how we can balance that because we are both so different. But there's a way. There's a way to do it. We'll figure it out.
Oh, definitely. Just have her do the background, and then you
Yeah.
can do the rest.
She'd probably say
Well,
the opposite.
oh, really? You do the
Yeah,
background?
you do the background, all the photos, and that editing, and I'll do this. Yeah,
That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll be talking to your daughter at some point. I know she just got over a cold, but so we're trying to wait for her voice to rest a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
So,
she's pretty croaky. Yeah,
oh, I believe it.
yeah,
Yeah, and now she got to save it too and make her products for the Vermont Vintage Market days.
yeah.
So,
She has a lot of products, a lot of soap that's aging nicely in her house. Her house smells good. Yeah.
uh, with one type of flavor or like 20 different flavors?
Oh yeah, like 20 different. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess Pam is like. So, what do you think about the whole idea of Champ? Like, being the Plesiosaur. Like, what are your thoughts on the whole legend, or if it is not even a legend?
Yeah, I believe that it is real. I believe it's not a scary creature like, some people draw him to be or make him out to be. I think he was stuck here back when the lake was cut off, and I think there were probably more of them years ago, and definitely less now. But I believe it's a fairly large sized creature, probably not as large as it used to be. Pretty rare in the lake, and because of the depths of the lake and the way the lake is murky and all the hidden areas, I think has just been able to be elusive. But I do believe that there is a champ creature in the lake, and maybe someday we'll figure out exactly what he is or she
That
is.
would be nice.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's the way I kind of look at it too. And I'll add to what you said is if alligators and crocodiles have been here since the dawn of dinosaurs, I mean, why can't anything else have possibly have survived
Yeah,
the Dark Age, Ice Age? So yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm right there with you. I mean, I sort of believe. And there's my skeptic talking again. Like I want to believe, uh, but it's just like, please show me more evidence. Like I want to see something more.
I honestly think for you, if you talk to a couple people who say they saw a champ, like you'd change your mind. It's
Oh yeah,
very,
and that's what
very
I
real.
like to. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what I always like is like hearing other people's stuff because then it does make me go,
yeah, yeah.
it does open up your mind more to appreciate what really could be out there.
Yes. And there's so much that's unknown. I mean, the world is still so big, especially the water. The oceans and the lakes, there's so much we don't know about them that who knows,
Exactly.
you know?
Well, that's the thing. Like Like, you got to think with as far as you go down into the water, the pressure itself gets massive.
Hmm.
So, and I think we tried back. I forget now. We tried back in the day. I'm just gonna say, but like they had to bring the submersive machine that they had, subwell to say, out of the water because if I remember correctly, as they were getting toward more of the deeper dark blackness of the depths, that's when like it seemed like everything was just starting to fall apart
Mm.
from
Yep.
inside.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that might be where he is or she is. So yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Yep.
So I guess Pam, real quick to finish this off is so you are on the Champ Day committee, or at least you're part of the festival itself. So I guess in your years of being or attending in it, what is it like for people that may not have had a chance to attend?
Right. In the past, it was more focused, I think, on having fun just for children. And then the last couple of years, there's really been a push to make it more about celebrating Champ and having some of the cryptid folks there and some experts and really trying to get vendors who sell Champ, at least a Champ related item. Everybody that was there, like it really surprised me that people came as far as like New York City, Long Island, Pennsylvania. There
Wow.
were folks from all over that came to learn more about Champ, and they were so disappointed there wasn't that much Champ paraphernalia, to buy there. So the vendors that will be successful there will be ones that have different Champ related items.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's people are looking to buy, a, a piece of a memory to bring home.
Yeah, exactly. Like today, before I'm talking to you, we drove to Vermont, where there's a store over there, and they sell like Bigfoot stuff. So, like, I just bought like two Bigfoot T-shirts because they're new. I never seen them there, so
Oh
I took
yes,
note of that. So,
yep,
yeah.
yep, yeah. And that's something like down at the Sasquatch Festival in Whitehall. I'm sure they have vendors that just have Sasquatch shirts. You know.
Yeah, and it's I tried looking up like stuff for Champ too, and there really isn't much from what I've already seen to what is new, what isn't, I guess. Unless you're looking for like the funny joke T-shirts where
Yeah.
like Sasquatch is riding Champ
Yeah.
like a cowboy, like he like
Yeah.
Champ is the horse or whatever. But yeah, other than that, for serious stuff or more like your type of books or DVDs or anything, there really isn't much for
Mhm.
sure.
Yep. So it'd be nice
So
to have more of that at the event. you know.
yes, yes, and I bet that gets harder every year to just try to find vendors as
Yeah.
well.
Yep. Yep.
So I guess Pam, to wrap things up just a little bit is so this is haunted Vermont, and I mean in this case we're talking across the lake. I know you're New York based, but in your own opinion of like the paranormal, the unknown, like what do you make it out to be?
What do you mean? What do I make what out to be?
Like what do you make the paranormal out to be? As
Oh, the
in like
paranormal. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Um. Well, let's see. How would I say this? I think I'm very intuitive about things, and you know, I'll say this. My mom passed away last year, and it's just interesting as time goes on how you get sensations or feelings from the other side. And I'll say that it really opened up my eyes a little bit more. I think I tend to believe a little more in experiences that I didn't in the past. And like I say, we're humans. we just don't know everything. There's a lot out there that's unexplored and unknown. And I think you really need to leave your mind open to the possibility of many different things. So I'm not against any of it. I love to hear the stories and kind of will make my own mind up based on what I hear. And like I said with Champ, is for me, it's more about someone that I know or meet that talks about an experience and whether or not that experience is truly believable or not. That's what sets it in stone for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I like that. And I've had way too many paranormal things happen that I can't even explain. And me and my friend at the time, when I was staying over at his house, we tried, like what the ghost hunters and stuff would do. We would try to debunk it, and we just some of it we could, and
Hmm.
still kind of left an impression of like, well, how did that happen anyway? But then there's some where we could not debunk, and it was just like, well, what do we do about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always fun to try to learn something new into that field, but otherwise you just need to be careful and uh, just really have fun with it. But like you said, just keep an open mind about
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. Well, all right, Pam. Well, I don't want to keep you anymore, but for those listening, if anybody wanted to check out your book or even keep up to date with like you in general, where can people go?
Yeah. So I have a Facebook page. That's probably the quickest way to get there. You could go to Champ the Little Plesiosaur, and then my website, you can connect to that right from there. The website is actually under my business name, Maiden by the Lake, but all the links are in there.
Very nice. I was thinking the other day too with the Maiden by the Lake thing. I was like, I don't think she had like an actual logo yet. I was like, she should totally do one where it's like a lady in white or something with like a paintbrush with one of
Yeah.
those old style painting stands and just have
Oh,
it
do
right
this.
out by the
Yeah.
lake,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah, that'd
that
be
would
good.
be nice.
Yeah, I
And
actually
then
have Cody when she was little. When we came home from the beach, she's actually the gal on my business card that I've
oh
developed.
really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Pam, I appreciate your time in talking to
Okay. Thank
you,
you.
and hopefully one day we'll meet up at some event
Yeah, I'll
so I
see you
can
at
actually.
market days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
And it'd be nice to meet in person and just I don't I don't know about having a beer per se, but having some sort of drink, I guess,
Yep.
lemonade or something.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, Pam. Well, thank you so much for your time, and then for everybody else listening, thank you so much. Keep up to date with Pam, and if you have not checked out Champ the Little Plesiosaur, you need to do it. It's good, fun, family read,
Yeah.
and support indie artists as well. So, because
Thank you.
they need all the help they can get.